Hello, everyone, and welcome to Buckley's webinar about prefabricated ductwork. My name is Matt Halley, and I'm a technical sales engineer at Buckley Associates, and I'm going to be your host today. We have a pretty good turnout today, so we're going to moderate questions live, and I'll interrupt if I need to, but for the most part, we'll probably keep the questions to the end. You'll be able to see this webinar and a lot of other webinars we've done in the past on our training module on buckleyonline.com. So if you think this is interesting, feel free to share it when you see it on our webpage. So we have a couple different speakers today, actually, all related to prefabricated ductwork. We're going to kick it off with Sterling Minter, the Director of Sales for Ducts and Cleats, and he's going to be talking about ProR, which is superior outdoor ductwork technology. And followed by him will be Connor Rampley, the Director of Sales for Jeremias, and we'll be talking about stacks, chimneys, breaching, and prefabricated ductwork. So all kind of fits a theme, and we're going to pack a lot of information into this. So again, please feel to ask questions, and we'd love to talk about this with you. We got a great team at Buckley that can kind of work through all these different applications with you and get these guys involved as necessary. So without further ado, Sterling, why don't you go ahead?
All right. I want to thank you for joining us today. This is just going to be a quick introduction to ProR, an introduction to a superior exterior duct system. I've been working with phenolic duct now for almost 20 years. I've been involved with pretty much every system that's out there that is considered a phenolic duct system. So some quick details on what we do at ProR. We are a union sheet metal contractor out of Minnesota. We're a full sheet metal shop, but then we have our phenolic duct section as well. Being a union fabricator has a huge benefit in that our lead times generally stay down because everyone on our side is trained on how to make ProR. So we can move the sheet metal guys over and we can fill from the hall. So that being said, we supply throughout the entire U.S., all through manufacturers' representatives. It is a premium product, so it is something that is typically engineered. What we are attacking is the current path of insulated metal, which we can, with confidence, say has a 100% failure rate when it's exposed to the elements outside. Part of that is because the contractor quality can vary. It's going to go to the low bidder, guy who missed the most. The jacketing varies. There's different kind of external jacketings. The insulation varies. Thermal bridging from the supports, uninsulated flanges. You get susceptible to weight loads. If you're using an open cell type fiberglass insulation, it compresses, it loses thermal value. If it gets wet, it loses thermal value. So it ends up being very dependent on adhesives and sealant to try to close it and keep it a tight system. But the reason it fails is duct leakage. So our focus at ProR is to reduce duct leakage to almost eliminate it. Because if air gets out, water is getting in. It's that simple. It's not real complicated. And the current way we do it, sheet metal guy installs as per SMACNA standards. He does nothing wrong whatsoever. But per SMACNA standards, your duct standard 4-bolt type flange is allowed to leak 6% at 1-inch static pressure per 100 square foot of duct. So we're saying it's acceptable as how SMACNA calls it, acceptable or allowable leakage. Again, air gets out, water gets in. Then it gets compressed and it gets even worse. And once the water gets in, that's where all the problems begin. And it begins pretty quickly, although it may take some time to reach the level that you see in these pictures, but it does get bad fairly quickly. If the insulation gets wet, it can lose as much as 85% of its thermal value. It can also compress a lot easier, especially if what I call the Bubba factor, which is Bubba walking on the duct. And let's just be honest, we know people are going to walk on the duct. They're going to climb over the duct. So we need to address that and be aware of that. And we've done that at ProR. You get reduced thermal value, which reduces your energy efficiency. You also start to have mold and mildew. And so if you're healthcare, this becomes a real concern. And of course, you start to get the duct deterioration from all of that. So we're going to take the next 15 minutes and talk about pre-insulated duct leading into ProR. And again, just a short introduction. The first thing to understand is currently at this time, there is only one manufacturer of phenolic board that can be utilized and be a UL 181 listed duct system for Class 3 ducting, and that is Kingspan Cool Duct. It is a very rigid, dense board. It is UL listed, but it's important to know that it's only UL listed as a duct system. That means it has to be cut, it has to be folded, has to be sealed, clipped, sealed on the inside, the flanges, everything has to be done per the SMACNA standard. Once you have built a duct and it's ready to go inside a building, you can test it, and that's when it is UL listed. It passes all your tests. It is a closed cell insulation, has only a 0.14% absorption after 24-hour immersion. So if we go back and compare to that insulated metal, with insulated metal, most of the time they're using a fiberglass board. That's probably just the worst thing you could ever put outside. It's a sponge. It's going to absorb that water. So air gets out, water gets in, it goes all through it. You start the deterioration. The Cool Duct does not allow that, has only a 0.14% absorption after it's been held underwater for 24 hours. You can get R12 at 1 3/4 inches. So the R value for the particular zone there in Massachusetts and surrounding New England is going to be met with a much smaller, 30% less thickness of insulation. The most important thing about Kingspan Cool Duct and why it is the only one that is UL listed, it meets your ASTM E84. That's your 2550 smoke and flame. So when you start looking at our Pro R system, it is a pre-manufactured, pre-insulated, strictly designed for exterior application. It gets used interior, but it is designed for exterior. It's going to be 60% more energy efficient. It's always going to follow phenolic standards. There is a standard by SMACNA. So as an engineer, you're still specifying, build it per SMACNA standards. ANSI 22, that's your phenolic duct. And then it's going to carry a 10-year warranty as well. So as we talk about this, the next 3 slides are probably the most important slides. We're going to talk about the fabrication features that we do at Ducts and Cleats that allows Pro R to be so much better or superior than other systems. First of all, it is a double duct system. Now, by double duct, what does that mean? Well, first of all, we build the cool duct, and we build it per ANSI 22 SMACNA standards. So when it's done, it's ready to be installed as a duct system. Now, it's important to understand that because you can see in this right picture, the standard requires reinforcement at times. And when you need to reinforce, you're always going to put a metal plate underneath, a metal plate on top. That reinforcement penetrates through the phenolic and then has a metal plate on either side. So we do that several different ways. One, we use a Pro Truss. That Pro Truss on the inside runs the length of the duct with the flow of the air. And instead of a 6-inch or a 4-inch plate, we have a 6-inch truss. And that helps cantilever out that weight distribution, much like you would on building a deck that extends out past the final post. So it helps us cantilever our weight, allows it to withstand heavier weights and loads, and it works significantly better. Now, once that phenolic duct has been built and it's ready to go, the SMACNA standard says if you're going to put it outside, you need to put an approved weather jacket on top of it. So what we do is we then build a metal duct around that phenolic duct. So we're not screwing panels together. We're not gluing panels together. We're not using peel and stick adhesives. We are building a duct complete with Pittsburgh seams, double lapping, double sealed, overlapped, hammered down. So these are the seams you see. There's no screws. There's no area that water can get in or air get out. It's double sealed. We never penetrate that jacket. Additionally, we use an integrated 4-bolt flange. Now, what does that mean? That means not just the metal is integrated, but we take that jacketing duct system, we roll that jacket that you see there up into the flange, and then we use a Pro Cap that seals the truss, the insulation, and the jacket into a solid single surface so that air is not trying to run and get in between those two things as it does with other systems. So that combined makes it very sturdy, very strong, very durable. On average, it's less than 1% leakage up to 10-inch static pressure. It's important to understand that Kingspan Cool Duct is really only to be used at 4-inch static pressure. To go higher than 4-inch, you need to apply something that's going to take it to that next level. That's what we do by building a metal duct around the phenolic duct. We're then able to increase that pressure significantly up to 10-inch positive and negative. And as I said, no jacket penetrations, and then that closed cell. So from a performance standpoint, simply reducing from 6% leakage to 1% leakage is about a 60% energy efficiency that's going to be long-term and is going to last the duration of that duct system. The enclosed ends, combining the duct and the insulation into a single solid system, if you will, prevents water from getting in between. If it were to get inside the flange, it'll never get in between the jacket and the insulation, which creates additional concerns. But the benefit is we never have water get in our system. Part of that is we also use a double gasket seal. So a standard contractor, when he goes to install this duct, first of all, there's not a real heavy learning curve. It's so simple to install. They're going to do everything they would normally do with sheet metal, which is they take that 4-bolt, they put a butyl gasket in it, they're going to bolt it and clip it with standard cleats, and only instead of an insulator coming in insulating it, they're going to put an insulation wrap, a neoprene foam around that, and then put a cap around that just to protect it from the elements. But in addition to that, they're going to apply an internal gasket that runs on that inner edge where the air is going to flow. Now, when you take a 4-bolt duct system and you put it together and you clip it, it tends to separate out that gap down at the bottom. And so what that memory foam does is fills that gap so that the air can have a smooth run instead of dipping at every single flange. So that's really the only thing they're doing different than what they would normally do. There's no jacket overlays. There's no metal that you need to have a 3-inch overlay. There's no peel and stick. So it performs significantly better for a significantly longer time. The installing contractor, there's some great features there. First of all, you only have one contractor. So from a GC perspective, yes, you're still going to have an insulator doing inside and pipe and all of that. But the exterior duct, when the contractor installs that duct, it's done. You walk away. There's no need for another 3 weeks for an insulator to get out there and wrap it. It's about 70% less weight than your standard double wall duct system, even though it is a double wall duct system. It does not require sealant at the joints. We don't put sealant in the flanges. We don't put sealant to seal the edges of the joints. These joints, all our competitors have to put sealant to keep water from getting in underneath that cover. Because our system has that TDC jacket, there's no seam there. So if water gets underneath, it runs to the sides, drops off, and falls out of the system. Does not get into the system itself. So that is a great benefit. That's a huge time saver, about 30% labor when it comes to installing by not having to use any kind of sealants or adhesives. Does not require any screws. Screws are the worst thing you can do. If you screw a metal system together around the phenolic, every one of those screw holes becomes a penetration. And every one of those penetrations is susceptible to leakage and water infiltration. So every time you put a screw in, you make it worse and worse. If you're putting it on top of the duct, you need to make sure that that duct is sloped. And Pro-R has no benefit from being sloped. There's absolutely no need for it. Every other system in the world, to be honest with you, should have a sloped roof because they have either an overlay of adhesive or they have some type of screw or sealant dependent that's on top. And if water ponds on top of that, you're going to have issues. Duct support spacing gets improved. We need to support about every 8 feet. If you have under an 88-inch girth of the total duct, you can actually go every 13 feet without any concern. So that's another big benefit on the install side. Like I mentioned, we are the strongest duct out there. Standard, we either use an 18 gauge aluminum or we use a G90 galvanized. So it is far superior than any kind of plastic or peel and stick. Again, because of that truss that you see there going down the middle, cantilevering out the weight, it disperses that weight. So you don't get, that's 800 pounds standing on that piece of duct. Again, if the little ponding were to occur, it's not going to matter. because there's nowhere that water can penetrate inside the duct. So then we get to the question, what about hail? Well, the best I can do for you here is beat it with a 2x4 and try to give you a simulation of what's going to happen during a hailstorm. So just your standard basic hail right there. Now let's go to the really hard. Use the point of the board, and you can see here what it does is it provides these little dimples here, but that's about it. It does not penetrate. And you can see, because we have no penetration to our external jacket, water is not going to get into that system. We have a added feature, product called ProR Specialty, where we can put a stainless steel liner. So typically we have an aluminum reinforced liner on the inside, as per Cool Duct standard, UL 181 listed system. But if we're doing say a food grade, where they're going to be using a constant wet jet kind of an application to clean that on a regular basis, or perhaps there's a exhausted chemical that does not play well with aluminum, and for that purpose and sometimes heat purposes, we might put a stainless steel liner or a galvanized liner on the inside for a little secure system that'll last longer and be able to withstand either that chemical or that wet jet type operation. Now, so that you know, and I think everyone there in that area is pretty familiar, there are several phenolic duct options out there, and they all kind of carry the same problems that standard insulated metal does. And as I said, I've had a lot of experience. I've been involved in the creation of most of them to some degree. We have no penetrations to our cladding. They all do. We have no field contractor installed glues or adhesives. They do. We don't require screws to hold the system together that are going to allow air out and water in. Our competitors do. So we're much faster installation by not having those things. We're less weight by not having those things. We're able to go to a higher pressure rating than others. We can do cold weather installation because we're not dependent, again, on the sealants being kept at certain temperatures and things of that nature. We do have Kynar coated aluminum if we want to go down and get a color coded to match the building facade or something of that nature. Kynar is the absolute best color coding you can get. Our supplier has a 30-year warranty to not crack or chip, holds up very, very well. And best of all, our system is complete with that 25 rated insulation and jacketing. And just to mention a few, the Cool Duct in and of itself, once it's been built, the way the SMACNA standard says, when you go outside into the elements, you need to put a weather-approved jacket on that. Now, there are multiple jackets: Alumiguard, VentureClad, 016 aluminum, plastic. They can all be used. It doesn't matter. But they're all going to require sealants, adhesives, or screws, and these are where it's going to break down. So anytime you just specify phenolic, there are contractors that all they do is make Cool Duct. They can put a jacket on it, and they're meeting the spec unless your spec has been detailed. Our number one competitor, the only other national product out there, is Thermoduct. We made it for many years, but it still had its issues because of two things. One, it's dependency heavy on sealant at all the flanges and all the connections and corners, but then their reinforcement has to penetrate their outer jacket, and they've got to put plastic caps, and that seals that up. There's another one out there, Dual Tech. That's a product from the East Coast. It's primarily on the Northeast region. Not a bad product. Still uses the Cool Duct phenolic. The only problem is it uses so many screws. It can't keep the air in. It can't keep the water out. It's very dependent on sealant. And then probably the only other one that's out in this area would be a product out of Pittsburgh called Tough Duct. First and foremost, Tough Duct is not a phenolic duct. It is a metal duct insulated with phenolic. So it's an internally lined metal duct, has all the same issues as internally lined metal duct when it's put outside, with the exception of the insulation being 90% closed cell as opposed to a fiberglass liner. But it's important to know that it in and of itself is not a phenolic duct system. We do have a comparative analysis that we can provide to you through Buckley. kind of gives a key features, benefit, and whether that product carries that benefit or not. As you can see, Pro-R is the only one that carries them all. Tough metal exterior, penetration-free exterior, integrated flanges, et cetera, et cetera. So we can provide all that for you. Just to give you an idea, here's a project, kind of went through the hurricane situations a couple years ago there in North Carolina. The day of the install is the way it looked there. A little over 2 years later, after those hurricanes, I went back out there, and you can see it got dirty, and that was about the extent of it. So that's how well the product holds up. That can be power washed off, that can be wiped off, whatever the case. So conclusion, as we bring it to an end and open this up for Connor and Jeremias, this is the main thing I point out. Duct leakage is the biggest factor that hurts us. It adds to energy loss and poor indoor air quality. Duct leakage means you're going to lose that CFM to the environment. It's a little different when you're in an enclosed inside the building envelope, but outside it's just gone. That means you have to make that air up. It means you've got moisture in the duct because of air is getting out, water is getting in. Well, now you've got reduced thermal efficiency and ineffective insulation that leads to mold and mildew, resulting in poor indoor air quality. So basically, it then begins to the duct corrosion, and that process just gets worse and worse over time. So the key is specification. You have to specify the product you want and the performance you hope for it to attain. Minimum 040 18 gauge aluminum is going to give you the best jacket. Require a leak test. We get asked by contractors, hey, if I use your Pro-R, do I still have to do a leak test? Not only do you still have to, we want you to do it. We don't ever want an engineer to feel comfortable enough to say, well, if you use that, you don't need to. No, we still want a leak test because we know we can pass that less than 1%. Others generally are not, certainly not going to put a 10-year warranty on it. No fiberglass. Fiberglass is a killer. It just should not be outside. If you're going to approve alternates, if you're going to have penetrations to your jacket of any type, whether you're allowing a thermoduct or a dual tech or even metal with insulation, you need to require a sloped roof to try to keep that water from ponding and penetrating into the duct system. That's key. The Buckley folks have specifications they can provide you. We provide details. We don't screw our duct supports into the duct. We fully encase it so it can't lift out. Again, we don't want to screw into it. It's just going to make it leak. It's going to allow water infiltration. We have details on curb adaptions. And again, it's not much different than what they would normally do. Wall penetration, same thing. What we would do in a wall penetration is we would leave that TDC integrated flange off on one end so that it can extend through the wall without the flange. And that way you have a smaller opening in the wall that needs to be sealed and secured. And then that duct mate type flange can be put on, and we give details on how to do that and secure and tighten up the entire system and just make sure everything works very well. So we work very closely to try and make sure that once a project has been bid with Pro-R, that we are providing everything that is needed. We provide all the materials. We make sure the contractor is fully on board. We do drawings during the bid process, which is a little different than some. We don't quote and say as per plans and specs. We have a checks and balance 3-step process where we quote a job with a drawing that matches the engineer drawing and says this is what we quoted. The Buckley folks verify that is what we quoted, and then the contractor has a chance to verify. And that avoids that, who missed the most, because we've all agreed this got everything. We won't build it till the contractor field verifies and says, yep, everything you've detailed in your shop drawing is correct. Go forward. So with that, that brings us to the conclusion. I want to thank you for allowing me to speak to you about Pro-R. If you need additional information, reach out to Matt or any of the Buckley team, and we'll be glad to work with you. And Matt, I'll turn this back over to you.
Thank you, Sterling. Connor, you're up next. And yes, that was not the end of the webinar. We got another presenter here. Connor Rampley is the director for director of sales for Jeremias exhaust systems. Before that, feel free to make sure you ask questions. We'll be presenting questions to both Sterling and Connor at the end. But yeah, Sterling, thank you for that information. And Connor, are you ready? I made you the presenter, so you should be able to share your screen.
Yes, are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir. We can
Okay.
hear you. Can't see you, but we can hear you.
Here we go. Can you see me now?
There you are.
All right. I will share my screen and I will get started.
Cool. Oh,
All right.
there you go.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. You're good. Thanks,
Okay.
Connor.
No problem. I am Connor Rampley, the National Sales Manager of Jeremias Inc. I am an ME, and today I would like to briefly show you the company and show you engine exhaust, grease duct, and gas vents. And if we have time, I'll show you all applications that Jeremias can be used for. We do have a global presence. Jeremias was started in Germany. We manufacture independently in America, and we use them for engineering resources, but we do have compliance with Buy American. This is our new manufacturing facility we just opened, and we're actually already extending this facility to another suite at the end of this year. So to look at the applications, I do want to look at engine exhaust. This is generator exhaust or data center exhaust, kitchen ventilation, and then boiler exhaust. These are the big three uses for this ductwork, along with some others. For engine exhaust, factory built means the details are taken care of. We'll take care of the supports, expansion, all the calculations, terminations, and Jeremias is the only manufacturer to produce 3 through 5 inch ID due to our unique forming of the joints. And it's the only system in America rated for 90-inch water column and can permit no use of PRVs, which are pressure relief valves, which is a very high cost item for data centers. So looking at a standard engine exhaust, what are you going to see? Typically, the YT connection from the generator to the silencer is by the generator manufacturer. And, and in the mechanical scope, typically picks up after the silencer. We'll provide silencer connections. We'll provide all supports. We will provide expansion joints and expansion calculations if desired. We can give you the loads, Revit models for this, and help you size for the expansion loads and dead weight loads of the system. And this is 100% stainless steel. We will provide drains and thimbles for these systems. All we need from you is the appliance information and the routing. If that is shared with Matt at Buckley, then we can provide factory sizing calculations, a Revit model, shop drawings, and a price at zero cost to the end user. That does not need any PO in order to get that engineering service. We have done simple engine exhaust outside of U.S. Naval Academies, fire stations, and then we've done NDA projects like the 3 you see on the screen. Jeremias is the only manufacturer in America who can provide the all-in-one solution. This entire mast structure and the flue exhaust connecting to the SCR is by Jeremias, and this comes with a PE stamp. And Jeremias can make custom factory-built silencers for engine exhaust, like you see in both of these, which were Jeremias silencers and Jeremias supports. Moving on to factory-built grease duct. Jeremias is one of 2 manufacturers in America who have rectangular, and per the newest NFPA 96, you must list the field wrap with your listing. If you don't have that listed, then you can't field wrap your single wall. We're the only manufacturer in America who has that listing for single wall rectangular with a UL listing on it. Our CK is what we use for our round exhaust. This is a patented product. It's the first time ever a double expanded female was used in America. The first expansion allows for the male. The second expansion allows for the sealant to have a spot to sit. So this unique form allows this pipe to be cut to fit, and that's why we've been using this for McDonald's, Dave's Hot Chicken, Culver's, Chick-fil-A. Because of how this form is created, every single field length can be cut to fit in the field, allowing the most flexibility of any factory-built product ever. We have this in single wall and double wall. The double wall, you put a bead of sealant on the inner and then an outer band that goes together. And this comes with a 20-inch pressure rating. So to look at what the rest of the industry is doing for grease duct, they have a flange-to-flange system. The sealant is exposed to the airstream. You do have to wrap the joint and put on an outer locking band. We have something similar with the FL product, but no matter what I want you to understand and what's most important is the inner joint overlaps on the Jeremias product, which means it's impossible to leak. So all of the products I'm showing you today have a lifetime warranty because the inners overlap. We're the only American manufacturer to do so on all of our round models. For grease exhaust, there's 3 options from every factory built. This holds a UL 1978 listing. This holds a 103 and 1978. This holds a 2221 listing and 1978. So 1978 across the board. This is reduced clearance. You can only use it for 1-story buildings. 0 clearance is used for multi-story buildings. This is also a fire-rated shaft. So if you were going to build a dedicated fire-rated shaft for your grease duct, you can use a 0 clearance product and you do not have to build a fire-rated shaft because it is a fire-rated shaft. We can intermix these models as well. If this was a multi-story building, maybe we need 0 clearance rectangular inside of the kitchen. Once we get into the shaft, we can use a round product ZC, and at the roof, we can use a single wall round product because clearance to combustible is not an issue. So when we do these projects, we're going to look at the most economical way to do the venting for you. An example layout is shown here with multiple hoods and a utility set fan. We're going to handle the hood connection. We have hood collars that can adapt to anywhere on the hood. One of the unique things that Jeremias does is we put access panels on our elbow, and we also have inline access panels. A standard access for grease duct traditionally is a 90T with a cleanout cap, which has a velocity disturbance, which raises the static pressure. For our access doors, we have an inline access door that has a straight through velocity with no increase to static pressure. We also have unique fittings like this increasing boot tee designed per SMACNA for airflows instead of having a 90T with reducers on it and a 45 elbow. We follow NFPA 96 for all of our install guidelines, which says that every change of direction and every 12 feet, you need access. So there's an access panel here, here, here. We'll include an access panel here. And of course, we're including the supports, and all of this is 100% stainless steel. At the fan connection, this must be bolted. You cannot weld to the fan. It must be a bolted connection, and we will include a cleanout cap. As for round duct, they can use a spin jet washer and drop it in from the top so they can have a cleanout cap to clean this grease duct. If desired, we can include the outlet of the utility set fan as well. But to understand why use a UL listed product, for the 2221 listing, this was our product after testing. We tested a 16 gauge field welded product and it collapsed 3 minutes into the test. This is a 30-minute test. So stainless steel is going to handle temperatures better, and every grease duct ever caught on fire, you can guarantee they use a field welded product. The only reason code permits field welded product is because grease duct is supposed to be cleaned every 2 to 3 months, maybe 6 months. It's dependent on local code, but nobody cleans it. So if nobody's going to clean it, and we know nobody's going to clean it, we should be specifying a UL listed product. A lot of what I hear is UL listed or stainless steel grease duct is more expensive. This is an example I did for a multi-story building for an architect in California. I told him it would be $3,000 a floor, and a contractor said he could do field welded for $400 a floor. And that's true in material cost, but when it's said and done, after inspections, wrap, install labor, shafts, you can see that factory built is less or equal to cost of field welded systems. But you're also getting a UL listed system that can handle the temperatures if there were a fire. We're one of 2 manufacturers in America who can balance systems and send you static pressure calculations with your grease exhaust. The industry standard to size grease duct is you take a target of 1,800 feet per minute and you take the free area diameter and it gives you what you need to use. We actually include the static pressure calculations for our fittings. So if we have a system that we need to modify, as you see here, to get it balanced, we can use different fittings, different diameters, and we can send these static pressure calculations with any of the projects so that you're not guessing at the static pressure of the fan. You know the static pressure that the fan needs to operate at. We have this grease duct installed at the Brave Stadium, Falcons Stadium, and we've installed much of this in Buckley's territory. For gas vent, what UL listing is required. The gas vent market has moved almost 100% to UL 1738. And one thing that's very important for gas vent is a lot of engineers think AL 294C is required when you have high efficiency condensing units. And per UL, you can use 444, AL 294C, or 316L. Those are the only 3 stainless steels that you can use for categorized category 3 and category 4 appliances. It doesn't have to be AL 294C. For GV, we have an overlapping joint, and because of our forming mechanism, the SWGV can be all cut to fit in the field, and it overlaps, which means it has a lifetime warranty. One of the things that's very important that I want you to know today for our single wall gas vent is we have our own R&D lab in Ohio. It's actually the world's largest R&D lab for venting. And when we got our gas vent product listed, we decided to do these 2 listings here. These are optional for any manufacturer in America. We're the only manufacturer who elected to do these tests. And what this means is for any boiler that does not go above 230 degrees, we have a 0-inch clearance to combustible. So if you had a Lochinvar Crest or a Fulton EXE or a Cleaver Brooks Clearfire, all of these units do not exceed 230. You can use our single wall gas vent for 0-inch clearance. Every other stainless steel supplier in America would have to give you double wall, and that's double the price. So if you were considering maybe a Centrotherm IPEX option, I don't think PVC is prevalent in your territory, but I know Centrotherm or Polypro solutions are prevalent. If you look at the commercial diameters of single wall gas vent and look at the price per foot, it's almost half the price of any other solution. The only thing that competes is PVC, and again, I'm pretty confident that PVC has been outlawed in your territory. It's also half the weight. So for a typical boiler, you have your boiler in your room, it comes out of the boiler, goes up, and what we'll do is this first maybe 8 feet, we'll make double wall so that it has man-safe skin temperatures, and for the rest of the system, we'll have single wall gas vent to reduce the cost and have 0-inch clearance to combustible. If you have multiple boilers that you have to common vent, my suggestion would be don't do it. It would be make a dedicated stack for each of the boilers, but I know especially in your territory with the buildings, common venting is very prevalent. When you're working on these systems, if we have the appliance that you are using and the routing, we can give you factory sizing calculations, a Revit model, shop drawings, and mechanical details at 0 cost. And when we run our calculations, one of the questions I get very often is, can you run the calculations for the different turn downs of the boiler? How we size these is we give you the max negative and the max positive that the boiler is going to see through all iterations of turn down. If this falls within the pressure range of the boiler, it's accepted. So for an example, a Lochinvar Crest can go from negative 1/4 inch to positive 1/4 inch. If this was a Lochinvar Crest, we would not have to put any dampers or fans on this system. If you had too much negative, If this was 0.26 and our range is 0.25, we would have to add a modulating damper. If this positive number was a 0.30 and our range is positive 1/4 inch, we would have to put modulating dampers and a fan on this system. The point of the Jeremias product is that all of these products overlap, which means they will never leak and they have a lifetime warranty. So to look at all the applications that you can use for Jeremias, of course, we're doing gas vent. One of the things we do standard for our gas vent is 304. Jeremias purchases our stainless steel on a global level, so we're ordering 90 tons at a time. So our price per coil of 304 is half the rate that they buy in America. So we're using 444 and a 304 outer for our special gas vent. For units like water heaters that call for plastic solutions or polypro solutions, you can use our single wall gas vent, which is stainless steel, 0-inch clearance to combustible, cut to fit. It's good price, and you can use it for multiple stories as well. The boiler stacks, like non-condensing boilers we can build. We're using this on grease duct as we looked at, and we're the only manufacturer to provide those calculations. You can use it on dish exhaust. There's no UL listing for dish exhaust, but it can be used. Pizza oven exhaust is very prevalent. I've done a lot of pizza oven exhaust with Buckley. For pizza oven exhaust, there is no such thing as zero clearance duct by any manufacturer because there is no listing for that in America. For pizza oven exhaust, you must use a reduced clearance product. If you have it in multiple stories, it has to go in a fire rated shaft. We're doing engine exhaust. This is outside one of my reps' offices. So that can be a standard engine exhaust, or it can be like the previous examples I showed you for data centers where we're putting mast on the product. We're doing laundry exhaust more and more because our SWGV has the listings that anything less than 230F is 0-inch clearance. So we can provide single wall gas vent. Every other manufacturer in America is going to provide double wall and be double the price. Another very popular solution we've had with Buckley and specifying this product is our fume hood exhaust. This traditionally has been a welded 316. The only difference in my product and a field welded solution is that I have a laser putting the welds on my product. For the field welded solutions, any other factory built manufacturer is going to have a flange to flange system for this, which means caulk is going to be exposed to the airstream. No matter what they vent out of these chemical cabinets, it's going to eat through that caulk. Since Jeremias overlaps, we can put our exhaust duct on these fume hoods. And I've done about $2 million worth of fume hood exhaust for University of Texas A&M this year and last year alone. We'll handle all of the connections to the Antec valves or whatever valves you select, and we can connect to your fans. Bakery ovens. This is a batch production facility. We can do the bakery ovens. A lot of these have IMP ceilings, and we can use a product that is not connected to the outer via the inner. So as the product expands due to temperature, it will not rub against your IMP hard ceiling, which makes it desirable. We're doing a lot of coffee roasters. And one of the biggest new product lines we've done is quench vent. These quench vent systems are very abnormal temperatures. And I don't know if you've ever seen a quench vent go off. This is the exhaust for an MRI machine. They have a very, very high pressure when they go off. So we're doing all 304 construction. We're putting in bellow joints, and we're locking off our elbows. So in the field, they'll connect these elbows together and take them to structure so that this system will not collapse if the unit was to quench. We can also do custom supports. We can do supports above the ceiling and supports off the wall. We can do industrial silencers, and we can do freestanding. So our range of diameter for manufacturing is 3-inch to 13 foot. So basically, any stack in America we can produce. And for our freestanding options, that's anything over 48 inch. It comes with a PE stamp. We can do mass supports as well if it cannot be attached to the building. And again, this would come with a PE stamp and is much less cost than a traditional freestanding system. We can also do dust collector ductwork. To put it in perspective, this is 36-inch duct. This is 96-inch duct. We can build all of that for dust collectors or any other utility exhaust you might have. And if you want, for any of these projects, if you send us the appliance information and the routing, we can give you back a Revit file, certified shop drawings, and calculations for any of these at zero cost to you. We just want to work with the engineers and contractors in your territory. So with that, I will conclude and hand it back over to Matt. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Connor. Appreciate your time too, man. So we do have one question from Benjamin. On the grease
Okay.
duct and fume hood exhaust, will the systems pass a zero leakage test? I think that's what the rest of it says. Oh yeah, and this is required by code, state inspectors in Massachusetts. I can answer actually. So if you're using it in lab applications, they're actually rated up to 90 inches of water gauge, right?
Yes,
Which
sir.
is pretty. I mean, more than we're ever going to see. And I guess you could answer the rest of the question. It'll pass zero leakage, right?
Yeah, for grease exhaust and for fume hood exhaust, almost all of those systems are connected to a fan. I know for grease exhaust, it's going to be connected to a fan. So it's going to be under negative pressure anytime it's operating. Our pressure listing is for negative 30 inch to positive 90 inch. I haven't heard of a zero leakage rating. I feel like no matter what, any duct could leak, but yeah, I could make it zero leakage. Um,
I think
that's an interesting question. I don't know if I have one off the bat for that question.
I think I mean, to be honest, the answer, especially in negative pressure application, the answer would be yeah. We can absolutely use it in a fume hood application, and in grease duct, like you can't get better than this. I mean, field fabricated black iron. You saw his it's funny that black iron, to be honest, is still code compliant, but because there's been so many grease fires and it's one of the first things to burn up. The Jeremias grease duct is incredible at withstanding that test. You saw the pictures. It'll withstand that 30-minute test. Was it 1400 degrees or something like that?
That's 2,000 degrees for 30 minutes.
Yeah, 2000 degrees. It's definitely something I would consider using on a wood frame application. We're doing a lot of multifamily right now where, the 5+1 buildings, it's all wood frame wood frame construction. You have a restaurant on the bottom and you're going to feed it out the side or up the top, and it's all wood that it's going through, and having that UL 2221 rating to actually eliminate having a fire rated shaft would be it's a great application for it. And obviously you can apply that with the rectangular as well, which would help with clearance. So yeah, definitely something to consider. We don't have any other questions unless you guys want to write it really quick. I think we still have Sterling on here too. So, but you know what? We're going to send a follow-up. We're going to send some specifications that I would love the engineers to consider using on their projects. And if you're a contractor, please consider asking for it. It might not be listed. We'd love to see it listed, obviously. And it's definitely something that we should be taken seriously. And I think it's definitely a lot of quality that we can offer your owner. So if there's an owner out there, you have their ear, definitely please ask them to include ProR and Jeremias in the specifications. And, we're going to send some information here in a bit, and feel free to reach out. We got a lot of people at Buckley that can help you out from the sales side, engineering side, whatever you need. And service side. It's worth noting that we have a great service team. We got a lot of people on the street that can always help you out all the way through to the end. We support from the beginning to the end of a project. So appreciate your guys' time. Thanks, Sterling. Thanks, Connor.
Absolutely.
All right. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.